Good evening and a very warm welcome back to the 750 Motor Club VRS Winter Sim Series powered by Grid Finder. It is the second of our different kart track combinations. Tonight, it is going to be the Oulton Porsche Trophy representing the Porsche Boxster S at the Oulton Park International Circuit. Slightly quicker layout, though, as we are running without the Hislops chicane. So a nice fast run into Knickerbrook. And it is Jake Hewlett who leads the standings going into this second meeting of the season after a very dominant performance in the opening meeting of the season at Anglesey with the 5 Club Racing MX5 Cup being represented. And it is so the full 60 points for Jake Hewlett, 7 clear of Ash Hill. And then a further 5 back from Jackson Carden, a pair of podium finishers. There, Trafford King down in 5th position in the standings after a very tumultuous start to his title defense with a lot of contact getting involved in his first 3 races of the season. But Jake Hewlett undefeated so far, pole position and all 3 race wins to his name. And his first official wins after taking some wins in the summer event and an unofficial win in the season finale at the end of last season. So the second meeting of the season for the Sim Winter Series had, as I mentioned, Anglesey with the 5 Club Racing MX5 Cup. We will head to Silverstone next week with the F1000s being represented there. Then we go back on our little Christmas break. When we return, it will be the Clio Sports at Thruxton, the Low Cost at Brands Hatch Indy, the Radical Club Challenge at Donington Park, and then concluding with the 116 Trophy at Croft with a slightly different layout to replicate the real world 116 trophy. So if you're unfamiliar with what we do here at the 750 Motor Club VRS Winter Sim Series, we are emulating the real world 750 Motor Club series with 6 different car track combinations, tracks that we go to in real life with the 750 Motor Club, racing with the cars that we run across the various different championships as well. And some news about the various different championships for the 750 Motor Club. Of course, we're all very eagerly awaiting the new Swift Sport Challenge in 2025, the new entry-level formula with a very much a big focus on reducing the cost to be competitive. And there was another step taken in that, announced earlier in the week, that Devanti tyres with their Pro Tourer race tyre will be the control tyre of the championship, very much in line with the series aim to reduce the cost to be competitive with an affordable high performance tyre. And there will also be free giveaways via random prize draws of at least 1 pair at every single round of the championship. There's a total of 20 tyres to be won there. So again, the home of affordable motorsport, making it much simpler to go racing. Other news in the week since we last raced last week about the Sports Specials Championship, and there are going to be some changes for next year to further bolster its position as the ultimate lightweight British sports car racing championship with the best performance per pound. So Class A is now going to permit front-engined motorbike-powered cars under 1,000 cc's. Also, the maximum weight is now going to allow for various Lotus Elise models and its derivatives. And there is going to be a new Class D introduced for next year for front-engine cars with a maximum power-to-weight ratio of 230 brake horsepower per ton. So that's going to allow for the likes of the Caterham 270R, the Ginetta G40, and MX5 powered versions of kit cars such as the Mark Indy and the GBS Zero as well. So that is what's new with the 750 Motor Club since we last went racing a week ago. Now, going into this second meeting of the season, as I mentioned, Jake Hewlett is the man to beat the 31-year-old from Leicestershire, the Tequila Type R Trophy champion from 2022. In his debut season, having made the switch over from sim racing, his closest rival, you'd say, in terms of competitiveness, Trafford King, very much taking the opposite step, competing in the Tequila Type R Trophy and then adopting the Sim Series, our reigning champion, of course, racing with the Moser R5 bundle that he won last season and was awarded at the 750 Motor Club prize giving ceremony. Tickets for this year's one on February the 8th is now on sale as well. Go to 750mc.co.uk for all the details on that. But of course, we had plenty of other fast contenders, Ash Hill and Jackson Carden being two of them. Dave Martin, fourth in the standings going into this race. The former MR2 and low-cost racer, now in the Mazda 7s. I'm planning to do a second year of the 7-based series for next year. A winner at Oulton Park, in fact, in the low-cost championship, so he should be very adept at running the circuit that we are racing on tonight. But of course, it's not just the established 750 Motor Club members that we have here. We have so many youngsters who are setting up their early stages of their racing careers, coming from karting and maybe dipping their toe into racing for the first time. Jensen Swift, the 16-year-old from Darwin, he is a karter and raced with us last season in the Winter Sim series. Highest finish of 8th he had last year. But then we also have Rory Mallinson as well, again 16-year-old from Chester, the former grass track racer, and preparing to step into low costs for next year. And of course, one of the top drivers from the Anglesey round was Shay Brennan, who will be competing in the Swiss Sport Challenge next year, the 16-year-old. We also have the likes of Fen Chapman, 18-year-old Cumbrian, who is experienced in the British Karting Championship, but is planning to get his MS-UK race license for next year. And also Ben Goodwin, who might be at a slight advantage for this weekend, given that of this tonight's racing, I should say, because the 17-year-old based in London, his father Gary races in the Calm All Porsche Trophy in a Porsche Boxster S. So I'm sure Gary has been giving his son a little bit of advice going into tonight's racing. Podium finisher last season, but yet to see him on the podium for this season, although he was very competitive and making some audacious moves in Anglesey. Other youngsters include Will Hartley, 16-year-old from Preston, and has a lot of aims to race with the 750 Motor Club in the near future. Alex Hurren as well, a casual karter, about to head off to uni, is the 18-year-old from Surrey. But he was another quick driver at Oulton Park last year in the 3 rounds that he contested of the Sim Series. He finished second at Oulton Park when we were racing with the bike sports. So he should be fairly rapid out there. As Dan Jude also had a second place finish in the bike sports round at Oulton Park last season. So the 45-year-old from Northumberland, the Lotus Elise racer, Club Enduro racer with the 750 Motor Club, should be running very well. And of course, last season was his first season of league esports competition. But we also have other great races in the form of James King, of course, the Armed Forces Race Challenge driver in the 116 trophy. Will be running with the 116 trophy at the end of the season, as we mentioned. And in fact, speaking of the 116 sprint and trophy, as well, that's going to be one of the series that is racing at Oulton Park in the real world next year. We have 2 trips to Oulton Park, the first being on May 31st. That's going to be the 116 sprint, the Armed Forces Race Challenge, the BMW Kart Club, the Clios out there, as well as the historic 750 Formula. And then our second visit to Oulton Park will be on September 20th with the Classic Stock Hatch Championship, Club Enduro, F1000 Low Cost, and the Mazda 7s, as well as the Toyota MR2s out there as well. And that is a very, very tasty day of racing out there. Of course, Classic Stock Hatch being one of the absolute best racing series out there in the country. Club Enduro, probably the best pound for pound racing you have out there. F1000, fantastic single-seater championship, and then the MR2s providing endless entertainment as always. The low cost and the Mazda 7s as well. Of course, we will be racing with the low cost later in the season with the Caterham Academy car on Assetto Corsa representing that championship, as well as the Radical Club Challenge. So the actual cars that are being used to represent the various championships we have, I can run you through it. F1000, that one's simple, it's an F1000 car. For Clio Sport, we'll have the Clio 197. We do have the 200s also in the real world. It's a multi-class championship, but just the 197s for the Assetto Corsa meeting. Caterham Academy representing low cost, the Radical SR3 representing the Radical Club Challenge, and the BMW 125i for the 116 trophy, because we do now have a BMW 125 championship running alongside the 116s. So let's take a look at what is happening in qualifying as the cars head out onto the racetrack. Trafford King with the first time on the board, 148.296. What, second fastest? As he just dips below the cars that are also setting a lap time. But Trafford King there, the reigning champion in the blue car, now heading into Cascades, and the silver car behind him is getting very, very close indeed. A bit too close for company, but heading down the Lakeside straight now, and they'll head into the fearlessly fast left-hander of Island Bend. They won't be braking and heading right through the Foster's hairpin. And now into the Shell Oils banked hairpin. Exit out of here, very, very important. The rear always likes to slide away a little bit, and then we brake for the Britain's chicane. Flick it left over the curb, flick it right over the curb. And again, the exit, very, very important, because we won't be braking for the Hislops chicane in a few meters' time. So heading down the straight, moving it over to the left-hand side to swing it right into what is now going to be a very high-speed Knickerbrook corner. Hold your breath as Trafford King makes his way through. A little bit of curb on the exit, cresting Clay Hill, and then into the right-hander at Druids. Double apex right-hander. 2 bites of the curb, and then on the exit as well, we'll head underneath the Warwick Bridge and into the final braking zone on the lap at Lodge Corner, where we've seen plenty of dramas in various races over the years. Over the crest at Deer Leap, and then it's across the line to start another lap. So I don't think that one was an improvement for Trafford King, and he's still got the car behind for very close company. That's Jake Hewlett. So it's probably the 2 fastest drivers in the series. I know the standings don't necessarily reflect that at the moment, but of course these are the 2 drivers with multiple wins to their name. And Jake Hewlett is trying to find a way past his title rival. Of course, Trafford King was the benchmark name in the championship before the arrival of Jake Hewlett, who's really given him a hard time since he arrived at the end of the season last year and was the unofficial winner. He wasn't scoring points in that round, but since then has been rather undefeated. Both the wins in the summer event in the 116 trophy meeting, and then, as we mentioned, all 3 wins and pole position at the opening meeting of the season in Anglesey. So Jake Hewlett, not just a accomplished real-world racer, he has many esports titles to his name and has participated in a plethora of World Series, as well as Trafford King yields track position to Jake Hewlett. I wonder if they're taking turns to follow one another and just learn a little bit about how to get the best out of this car. A member of the Coanda SimSports team is Jake Hewlett, as he goes top on a 145.410. It's Jackson Carden who currently splits the 2 rivals. Jackson Carden third in the standings. Another blue car. That's not going to get confusing at all, is it? Between himself and Trafford King. Bearing in mind we anticipate they are going to be running quite closely together on the track. So 4 minutes left in this qualifying session. Shea Brennan in another silver car, going 5th fastest, the future Suzuki Swift Sport Championship racer. Podium finisher last time out in Anglesey in race number 1. Finished 3rd behind Ash Hill and Jake Hewlett. So making their way down the Lakeside straight and towards the Island Bend. So So Dave Martin, who has slotted into 4th position just ahead of Shea. Oh, one of the cars in the gravel trap at the Shell Oil corner. Jensen Swift here currently 12th of the 12 times set so far, but Jensen Swift, a rapid youngster, a 16-year-old from Darwin, who is a very rapid karter, lighting up the rear tyres on the exits of the Britain's chicane. Yet to finish inside the top 8 in a 750 Motor Club Sim Series event is Jensen Swift. I'm sure he'll be looking to put that to right. Forsyth going to 6th fastest. Callum Neve, Ash Hill, only 8th fastest for a double podium finisher. Also a single podium finisher last time out. 2nd in race 1 at Anglesey. Ben Goodwin currently in 11th, son of Gary Goodwin, who races in the Carmel Porsche Trophy. And so what is this time going to be for Jensen Swift as he comes up to the time, puts himself 12th fastest, ahead of Mark Crawford, behind Ben Goodwin. So look at Ash Hill in that lighter blue car. Probably 8th fastest behind Callum Neve, but ahead of Alex Stockton. So Trafford King still in 3rd fastest and still looking at the back of Jake Hewlett, interestingly. And it's Jackson Carden in the chasing car. So the top 3 in the timing order at the moment are very close together on track as it stands. And so we'll be starting the final flying laps of this qualifying session now, with just over a minute left on the clock. And Trafford King still can't quite improve on the time he set earlier in the session. Still 4/10 away from Jake Hewlett's provisional pole time of 1:45.410, and as it stands, Hewlett is on course for back-to-back pole positions. And of course, Jackson Carden now is at risk of getting compromised himself, as Ash Hill, well, I was just about to say he had a big swapper on the exit of Old Hall, and I think knows straight away that the lap is gone, and so has pulled up to the side of the road. Andrew Cooper here, director of the 750 Motor Club and a Formula V racer since 2016. He comes across the line, and it's 10th fastest for him, but should get another crack at it. Curve out of Old Hall. Let's see what Ben Goodwin can do on this final lap. Currently 11th fastest, 2.4 away from Jake Hewlett's time. Heading into the Britain's chicane, and not quite getting the turn into the right-hander he hoped for. A bit wide of the apex there, and that of course will cost him his run down the back straight, the hilltop straight, and towards Knickerbrook. Once again, checkered flag is out for this session. Shea Brennan has crossed the line, is in the pit lane. Ash Hill too, as is Jensen Swift. So they will be improving their times. Martin across the line. Jackson Carden with the final last gasp effort has gone fastest at 1:45.221 and has pipped Jake Hewlett by just under 0.2 of a second. So despite being bulked up behind Trafford King, he has been able to take pole position away from Jake Hewlett, and of course they have all crossed the line now, and so it is going to be Jackson Carden, 3rd in the championship, who snatches pole position at the 11th hour away from Jake Hewlett, as Ben Goodwin goes across the line in 11th. Callum Neve brings it into pit lane, and so he will stay in 8th position. Paul Forsyth only in 6th position and into pit lane as well. And so, wow, that is a surprise pole position for Jackson Carden after sitting in second position for most of that session, and ended up snatching it away from him despite being a part of that trio of cars. And so it is going to be Jackson Carden who starts on pole position ahead of Jake Hewlett. On the second row of the grid, it will be Trafford King and Dave Martin. Dave Martin going for his first podium finish of the season. Shea Brennan starting on the third row of the grid alongside Paul Forsyth. Then it's going to be Ash Hill and Callum Neve on the fourth row of the grid. Alex Stockton and Andrew Cooper on the fifth row of the grid and completing the top 10. Then comes Ben Goodwin and Jensen Swift, Mark Crawford and Bad Chip with Simwolf VR rounding out the top 10, and Simwolf VR, actually Andy Woodvine, the real name. There, the 49-year-old Northamptonshire based YouTuber and also Formula V racer in the early 2000s, and also an MR2 racer back in 2007 as well. I think the only driver racing in VR in this series, and aiming to build his own motion sim rig for next season. But the grid is set. We're ready to go racing for 3 more 15-minute races for this second round of the season for the 750 Motor Club VRS Winter Sim Series powered by Grid Finder. And remember, unlike last season, that grid is now set for all 3 races. So no results setting the grid for race 2 from a previous race. No reverse grids in there as well. That's going to be the order for all 3 races tonight. And Jackson Carden with his first pole position in only his second visit to the 750 Motor Club Sim Series. And he's going to have an awful lot of pressure behind, with championship leader starting alongside him on the grid, Jake Hewlett, and the reigning champion just behind him on the grid in the form of Trafford King. Dave Martin should also be a very rapid driver out there as well. Of course, Dave Martin, MR2 racer, low-cost racer, a top 2% driver on iRacing, but let's see if that transfers into the world of Assetto Corsa as well. Of course, mods being a particularly useful thing to have when you are trying to combine the various different cars that race in the 750 Motor Club. And of course, it is just the Porsche Boxster S, but of course, the Carmel Porsche Trophy welcomes Porsches of a huge variety. We have old 911s and 944s out there as well. Of course, the Boxster has proved to be an incredibly popular platform, and one of the top teams out there, the Charles Ivy team, winning the championship this year, and providing us with plenty of great cars and plenty of great drivers as well. So we look to get things ready and underway for race 1. It'll be a short blast along the front straight before they swing right into Old Hall corner, down the avenue through Dentons and into Cascades, where things really start to bunch up out there. We'll have to see if everybody makes it through unscathed. That was not the case at Anglesey. Last week we had multiple collisions, especially on the opening lap. Trafford King and Jackson Carden were 2 of the parties that ended up facing the wrong way on that opening lap. And of course, Jackson Carden and Trafford King will be hoping to make amends for that one. So we're on the grid and ready to go racing for the first time tonight in round 2 of the 750 Motor Club VRS Winter Sim Series powered by Grid Finder. Green light is shown, puff of smoke from the cars, but it is a good start from Jackson Carden, but an even better one from Jake Hewlett as he draws up alongside on the run into Old Hall corner, but the inside line will go to Jackson Carden and he hangs on to the lead. Trafford King holding third position as well, but Jake Hewlett trying to get the run along the avenue and into Denton's, can't quite find the inside line, but he has done into Cascades. It's side by side for the lead going through the left-hander, and if he can hang it out there as well, the inside line will remain Jake Hewlett's as well for Island Bend, but the better run out of the corner, that outside line working great for the pole sitter Jackson Carden, and he is able to hang on to the lead going through Island Bend, but it is incredibly close for the lead of the race on this opening lap. A little wide moment into the Shell Oils corner for Jackson Carden, and that just allows Jake Hewlett to nibble at the heels of the pole sitter, and it is going to be a short run into the Britain's chicane with Trafford King holding on to third position still, and Dave Martin, Shea Brennan, and Paul Forsyth sitting there in sixth position. It's Ash Hill, Callum Neath, Ben Goodwin, and Jensen Swift in the top 10. But look at the run that Jackson Carden got through the chicane and onto the hilltop straight, because when they get into Knickerbrook, he's pulled 2 car lengths over Jake Hewlett, but it looked like Hewlett was a bit braver through the right-hander for the first time of asking, and is already starting to close down that gap once again. So great to and fro between these two drivers. We're seeing where one's got the confidence. Big slide for Jackson Carden through Druids, though. Well safe, but that has put Jake Hewlett right on his back bumper and has given him the run underneath the Warwick Bridge, and he should be able to find the inside line when they break for Lodge Corner for the first time of asking. Once again, side by side for the lead as Jackson Carden tries to hang it out around the outside. They bang wheels as Carden lit up the rear tyres on the exit of the corner, and as they come across the line for the first time at the asking, it is absolutely neck and neck, and Jake Hewlett will once again have the inside line going into Old Hall. It's an swapper on how it happened last time around on the opening lap, and again they seem to bang wheels on the exit of the corner. This time Jackson Carden will have the line going into Cascades, and he does manage to just about hang on to the lead, but that has now invited Trafford King into the mix as well. So this is absolutely fantastic racing here in the Carmel Porsche Trophy round of the championship, Round Island Bend. Once again, who's going to come out on top? It is still just about Jackson Carden, who is doing a brilliant job of soaking up this pressure, but it looked like Jake Hewlett was trying to find the inside line there. He drew just a smidge of an overlap there. He couldn't do anything with it on the exit of the corner, but it is 3 cars separated by about 0.6 of a second, vying for the lead here. Out of the Britain chicane once again. Can Jake Hewlett get a run? Well, Jackson Carden is hugging the inside line and realised he doesn't need to be quite so defensive going into Knickerbrook. Looked like he looked the front right tyre there. Oh, Jake Hewlett really flirting with danger there as he took a little bit of grass on the exit of Knickerbrook, which is now a fearsomely fast right-hander. As well, one of the other cars finding that out for good measure, and that was Rory Mallinson who got it wrong, and that is Alex Stockton who has taken advantage of that and gotten up into 12th position. That's Mark Crawford going very, very wide into Druids, and that allows Mad Chip through into 14th position. Back with the leaders, though, as we start the third lap of the race, and once again, it is Jake Hewlett who is only a quarter of a second behind the pole sitter Jackson Carden, who did do the fastest lap of the race last time round, but of course, remember, they were absolutely level pegging when they came across the line last time around. And so this battle continues, and while they haven't been knocking 7 bells out of each other, they've actually been able to pull away from Trafford King, but a wide moment again from Jackson Carden gives the inside line back to Jake Hewlett through Cascades, and this might now be the moment that Jake Hewlett is able to secure the lead. Yes, it is. He pulls clear into Island Bend, and Jake Hewlett takes the lead of the race away from Jackson Carden. A very costly error from the youngster, but Jake Hewlett has to be aware as he's drawn alongside into the Shell Oil corner as Jackson Carden tries to retake the lead in that blue car, the lead of those 2 blue cars, and once again enter Trafford King as Jake Hewlett now manages to pull a couple of car lengths out of the Shell Oil corner. Brilliant stuff. Once again, this race has been absolutely fantastic so far, and that looked like just another little moment there for Jackson Carden, as that has allowed Trafford King to pull clear into 2nd position. And so 2 costly errors on this lap, as in the space of a couple of kilometers, Jackson Carden has gone from the lead down into 3rd position, and Dave Martin is hot on his heels as well, despite a little wide moment there through Knickerbrook. Shea Brennan close on his heel as well. Dave Martin's gone through. What is happening to Jackson Carden? He's dropping place after place after place right now. Shea Brennan runs out a little bit wide on the exit of Druids, but Carden really trying to fight Dave Martin into Druids and through the second part of the double right-hander, but suddenly Jackson Carden started this lap in the lead of the race, and suddenly he's now in 4th position and now dropping behind Shea Brennan. He's got no straight line speed, and I cannot for the life of me work out why that might be the case unless his throttle pedal suddenly isn't going at 100%. What on earth is happening to Jackson Carden here? Because now Paul Forsyth has just absolutely bombed through. Oh, not quite. Barely kept it on the road. And now he's going to end up lighting up those tyres, and into the wall goes Paul Forsyth. So a little bit overzealous on the braking foot there. So that has at least given Jackson Carden a little bit of reprieve for now. But, wow, yeah, question marks over what has happened to Jackson Carden in this race as he suddenly started plummeting positions. Ash Hill in the lighter blue car, just keeping Callum Neve at bay. And then there's about 3 seconds back to Ben Goodwin and Adam Cooper. So now we've had a little bit of calm after all that drama. But it is closing up very much between Ash Hill and Callum Neve there, as Callum Neve seemed to have a really, really good run out of the Britain's chicane. And so now it's very much closing up on the back of Ash Hill for 6th position. Of course, podium finisher in Anglesey. And that's a very wide moment for Hill as he only just emerges in front of Neve's car coming out of Druids. And that surely is going to give Neve a little bit of a run coming into Lodge Corner. And, well, very big difference in the braking points there. And it seemed like a slightly wider line for Ash Hill, but that's actually worked out quite nicely for him because he managed to pull a car length there. And so Callum Neve still hot on Hill's heels, though. Try saying that 3 times quickly. As we're now at the half race distance, so much has happened already in this race. So that's a little slide for Callum Neve. A little bit of opposite lock going into Cascades. This does now look to be the closest battle on the racetrack. Through Island Bend once again. And Ash Hill looking a little bit more composed now. It seemed like a couple of errors is what was keeping Callum Neve on his heels. Oh, that's Alex Stockton having a very wide moment there in 15th position. Mark Crawford there getting a little bit of a tap from the recovering Paul Forsyth after his off on the exit of Cascades, and that's an off for Mark Crawford as well on the exit of Britain's, taking a little bit more grass than certainly the designers had intended, and so that does allow Paul Forsyth to go through into 13th position quite easily. Mad Chip is the car just up the road in 12th position that we're now following, some 5 seconds away from Rory Mallinson in 11th place. Paul Forsyth will still come away from this race with points. And this is closing up now for the last spot on the podium. Shea Brennan attempting to take a second podium finish of the season, following on from the 3rd place finish the opening race in Anglesey. But just a few tenths now behind Dave Martin, who currently holds that 3rd place spot and is on course for his first podium of the season. Jackson Carden has found his pace again. I'm really perplexed as to what could have happened in that short space of time where he was just plummeting positions, but seems to have found the speed again now and is sticking on the back of these 2 cars. So Dave Martin is going to have to be soaking up quite a bit of pressure for the remaining 5 minutes of this race in order to hang on to that podium spot. Dave Martin, the former MR2 low cost and current Mazda 7 racer that we were talking about. Rory Mallinson scrapping with Jensen Swift for the last spot inside the top 10. Jensen Swift getting a little squirrely on the exit of the Britain's chicane. So is that going to allow Rory Mallinson in the pink car to try and come through? And it's a wide moment for Jensen Swift into Knickerbrook. And better hope he doesn't make the barriers there, because there's not exactly an awful lot of runoff. He's back on the road, is Jensen Swift, but Rory Mallinson now up into 10th position. Back with the podium battle. And And it is Shea Brennan attempting to close down the Mazda 7's racer. It's the future Suzuki Swift Sport driver going up against the current Mazda 7's driver. And then Jackson Carden started on pole position, but now down in 5th position after a very odd couple of laps where he just seemed to plummet down the order with no speed, but has got the speed again now. Carden actually looking the raciest of the three at the moment, as he's closed right onto the tail of Shea Brennan. And so as they head through Britain's, it really looked like an overtaking opportunity there, but the run just a little bit too short. This is a longer run though, down the Hilltop Straight. Hoovering up the slipstream of Brennan's car, but it'll be a brave move into the high-speed right-hander at Knickerbrook. Into Druids, and it's still very much nose to tail between Carden and Brennan. Picking up a little bit of dust on the exit of Druids, and Carden looking for the inside line into Lodge Corner, draws half a car length alongside and gets into the door of Brennan's car. It's not the cleanest of moves, but they are side by side as they rise over the crest at Deer Leap. And Carden again with some momentum, draws fully alongside, has the inside line into Old Hall, has another little swapper, they bang wheels once again, Brennan goes wide, gets a little bit of grass, but it is Jackson who comes out ahead. So Jackson Carden up into 4th position now with 2 minutes left on the clock. The question is, can he get onto the back of Dave Martin and retake a podium place? And a little bit of honour in this one after a very difficult couple of laps that reduced him down to 5th position earlier in the race. Less than 2 minutes to go now. Shea Brennan demoted to 5th position, but keeping the car pointed in the right direction after a couple of bangs into the side of the door and a little bit of grass on the exit of Old Hall. Of course, Jackson Carden just under 2 seconds the gap to Dave Martin, so that would be quite an impressive feat if he was able to close that down in the remaining 2 laps. Paul Forsyth, the recovering Paul Forsyth, has cleared Mad Chip and up into 13th position. Oh, very nearly was going to be on the recovery again there with a bit of a swapper. But 7 seconds up to Mark Crawford, and so that looks like the best that Paul Forsyth is going to be able to do. Andrew Cooper in a bit of a race of his own there, the 750 Motor Club director and Formula V racer since 2016. About 2.5 seconds behind Ben Goodwin, but 4 seconds ahead of Rory Mallinson. It's the podium battle once again. They are now on the last lap of the race, it should be. Jake Hewlett 3.1 seconds clear of Trafford King, and Dave Martin trying to hang on to this podium place as he's now 1.5 seconds ahead of Jackson Carden. And so on pure pace, this should still go to Dave Martin, as there doesn't seem to be quite enough time for Carden to be able to bring down that gap. But of course, a little mistake from Martin would end up opening the door for Jackson Carden. That confirmation, we are now on the final lap of the race, and it is Jake Hewlett well clear, 3.1 seconds ahead of Trafford King, and he really did have to work for it in the early stages of the race. He had pole position snatched from him at the 11th hour by Jackson Carden, and then had to fight very hard with him in the earlier stages of the race. Carden seemingly losing pace as the race progressed, and it is going to be a 4th consecutive victory for Jake Hewlett in the championship, and continuing his rather dominant form that he displayed in Anglesey. but the field is very much closing up to him now. But the end result still seems to be the same. It's at a Lodge corner for the final time, and over the crest at Deerlead, and it is going to be victory in race 1 at Oulton Park for Jake Hewlett, who wins the Calm All Porsche Trophy race at Oulton Park. 4 victories in a row. It is going to be a third podium finish, I should say, for Trafford King, with 2nd position, and Dave Martin securing his first podium finish of the season in 3rd position. Jackson Carden reduced to 4th position in the end. Shea Brennan coming home in 5th position ahead of Ash Hill, Callum Neve and Ben Goodwin, with Andrew Cooper and Rory Mallinson completing the top 10. Jensen Swift about to come over the line in 11th position, just ahead of Mark Crawford. Paul Forsyth will finish in 13th position. And then Mad Chip and Alex Stockton, with Adam Woodvine completing the order in 16th position. And so Jake Hewlett, 4 victories in a row and extending his championship lead over Ash Hill. Jackson Carden surely taking 2nd position in the standings away from Ash Hill as a result of that, though. And Trafford King should be moving up the order as well, trying to get back on form, but a 3rd consecutive podium finish for Trafford King after a tumultuous start to his title campaign. And Dave Martin, 4th in the standings going into this race, and now his first podium finish as well for the Mazda 7's racer. But it is the 2022 Tequila Type R Trophy champion Jake Hewlett who continues to make the headlines in the 750 Motor Club VRS Winter Sim Series, with a 4th consecutive victory and, of course, 4th consecutive podium to go with it as well. Jackson Carden not quite able to take his 3rd podium finish of the season, and will be very interested to read the Discord messages after this race to see what on earth happened to Jackson Carden in that one lap where he dropped from 1st to 4th, I should say, and then eventually to 5th position. Managed to recover one of those spots in the end, of course. But certainly not the race he would have expected. But of course, with the grid being set for races 2 and 3 by qualifying as well, he's got another chance to try and take his first victory of the season. So we saw the great tit-for-tat battle between himself and Jake Hewlett in the early stages of that race. Expect more in races 2 and 3 as well, which are to come very, very shortly. So while we wait for race 2 to be set, let me remind you of some of the news that has happened, and I should remind you as well for the plum pudding races, because the grid is based on the order of the entries. So someone's already bagged pole position for the plum pudding races, the Mallory Park Boxing Day race meeting. And so make sure you get your entries in for that one. The entries close at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, the 18th of December. It's £180 to enter either the sports car or the saloon car category. If you're sharing a car with 2 drivers, it's £215. And a reminder as well that the tickets are on sale for the 750 Motor Club annual awards presentation and dinner, celebrating the best of the 2024 season at a brand new venue. It's the Leonardo Hotel in Hinckley, and that is going to be on Saturday, the 8th of February, where we will also officially crown the 750 Motor Club Winter Sim Series champion as well. And so we mentioned a VRS at the top of the show, the virtual racing school that has the tagline "Get Fast Faster," because they have got a plethora of tools to help you go quicker in sim racing. They are going to be providing us with the prizes for this championship. The champion will get a Pro Formula steering wheel, and 2nd and 3rd position will be getting a light steering wheel as well. And for those finishing outside of the top 3, there is going to be a random draw for 3 annual subscriptions for the VRS competitive plan, valued at $120 each, as well as 3 annual subscriptions to Team VRS group coaching for further skill development. That's valued at $100 each. So a huge thank you to the Virtual Racing School for coming aboard and providing the prizes for the 750 Motor Club VRS Winter Sim Series Championship. Race 2 about to get underway, and once again it's going to be Jackson Carden versus Jake Hewlett on the front row of the grid. It's going to be a second attempt for Jackson Carden to try and take victory, and once again it looked like Jake Hewlett got the better start, and it was a far better start this time because he's drawn completely clear by the time they get into Old Hall. And so race 1 winner, championship leader Jake Hewlett hits the front. A big swapper for Jackson Carden on the exit of Old Hall, as it looks like he's going to drop more places. Trafford King went through, and Dave Martin is going to go through into 3rd position as well. So suddenly it's the same order in the top 3 that we had in race number 1. Ash Hill surviving a little bit of contact there, it looked like, in the middle of Cascades. And Shea Brennan has also moved past Jackson Carden into 4th position. Ash Hill in 6th position, Callum Neve up to 7th, then Paul Forsyth. Ash Hill through into 5th position now as well, trying to go around the outside of Island Bend. One on the grass going into the Shell Oil corner. That doesn't look like it's going to end well at all. Ben Goodwin, the son of Gary Goodwin, who races in the Carmel Porsche Trophy, having a spin at the Shell Oil corner and dropping to the back of the field. And Jake Hewlett has already pulled 1 second over Trafford King. Amazing stuff. Bit of a mess down at the Britain chicane. Andrew Cooper, one of the cars involved in it. It looks like Alex Stockton is the other one. Yes, it is. So Ben Goodwin, who spun at the previous corner, gets 2 places back. And Jackson Carden from pole position down to 6th. There has surely got to be something wrong with his equipment. But as Ash Hill makes a little mistake on the exit of Knickerbrook, and so Carden back up 1 position into 5th. He managed to recover to 4th in race 1 earlier on, but it is again a very, very difficult lap for Jackson Carden, who's now got to find 1.2 seconds in order to get onto the back of Shea Brennan in 4th position. So at the end of the first lap of racing in race 2, it is 1.1 seconds the advantage Jake Hewlett has over Trafford King. It is Dave Martin in 3rd position once again, with Shea Brennan 4th, Jackson Carden 5th, Ash Hill 6th, Callum Neve in 7th, Jensen Swift 8th, Paul Forsyth 9th, and Mad Chip going on the inside of Old Hall corner there to take 10th position away. But he ends up slipping down 2 places, so 1 up, 2 down for Mad Chip, and it might be 3 down in fact, because Ben Goodwin is now alongside. Well, not quite. Oh, yes, and through. Sorry, 2 black cars there. Got a little confusing. Both he and Rory Mallinson going very, very wide on the exit of Cascades, though. And so that should be a free pass for Mad Chip. It is. Back into 12th position. So he went into Old Hall in 10th, came out in 13th, and is now back up to 12th. That's how quickly it can change. Callum Neve in 7th position in the black car, chasing the light blue Ash Hill. Ben Goodwin trying to reclaim the spot he lost from Mad Chip in 12th position into Knickerbrook. And Goodwin really closing up through the right-hander, and it could be a position swap as they rise Clay Hill and into Druids. But it's still Mad Chip ahead for now through the double apex right-hander. And then down the Warwick Bridge straight. Fastest lap of the race being set by Jake Hewlett, unsurprisingly. Now 1.2 seconds clear of Trafford King. So Ben Goodwin really trying hard to get the better of Mad Chip going into Lodge, but now going into Old Hall. He's on the inside, and it looks like he does get the move done. Yes, he does. Closing up for 3rd once again. Jackson Carden has done a really good job of closing up that gap. It was over a second, the gap between himself and Shea Brennan at the end of the first lap. And as you can see now, it's now just a few tenths of a second. Very equidistant between Dave Martin in third, Shea Brennan in fourth, and Jackson Carden in fifth. So it's battle resumed once again between these three cars fighting for a podium position. They've all finished on the podium before now, after Dave Martin took his first in race one just now. But maybe Shea Brennan can throw the hat into the ring. And oh, big off though for Jackson Carden. Looked like he didn't stop for Knickerbrook at all. And I tell you what, if he didn't make contact with the barriers there, I do not know how he managed to not do so, but he's dropped yet more places, and Jackson Carden's difficult day just got even worse as he's now down in 8th position as Ash Hill, Callum Neath and Paul Forsyth all went through there, and suddenly the podium battle was reduced to 2 cars. It's just 0.4 of a second separating Shea Brennan and Dave Martin now, as this battle's further back to Rory Mallinson trying to make up places. Up into 9th position ahead of Mark Crawford on the inside into Lodge Corner. And so Rory Mallinson, one of the young guns in the championship. The 16-year-old from Chester, who will be racing in low cost next year, or the plan is to be racing in low cost anyway. He's been testing low cost machinery. The former Grass Tracks racer in the Junior Saloon Championship. There's a race winner there, despite being some 10 years younger than most of his rivals. Oh, big slide though for Rory Mallinson going into Cascades. 9 minutes left on the clock in this one. You can see a bit of a gap to Jackson Carden, the recovering Jackson Carden. Callum Neave in the black car there, closing up on Ash Hill. Just 0.8 of a second to the Anglesey podium finisher. Doesn't seem to be getting on as well with this car as he did the Mazda MX-5 that we were running. Remember, it's different car track combinations every race to reflect the real world home of affordable motorsport, the 750 Motor Club. So Jake Hewlett's now pulled 1.9 seconds with consecutive fastest laps being set, and he is absolutely monstering the field right now. Trafford King himself 1.9 clear of Dave Martin, and it's now a second back to Shea Brennan as well. Jackson Carden picking up 1 spot from his earlier spin. Oh, speaking of spins, Jensen Swift not being very swift in the gravel. You can see where that is. It's at Druids. He was so far off the road, couldn't quite make out where it was, but rejoining in 15th position. It looked like Paul Forsyth maybe had a moment as well, because Carden is well clear, and Rory Mallinson is now on the back of Forsyth's tail. The 42-year-old from Ballinclare in Northern Ireland, the former Rotax karter in the early 2000s before racing Schedule 7s in Northern Ireland, and going on to do hill climbs as well. So it's youth versus experience in this battle for 8th position. So Andrew Cooper, the Formula V racer, on the back of Mad Chip. Side by side into Shell Oil's corner, and right round the outside tries to go Andrew Cooper. Now, surely he's not going to make that one work. Yes, he does. Brilliant stuff, and comes out just clear. Oh, Mad Chip's got to run on the exit of the corner, though, and so it's going to be very tight when they break for the Britain chicane. But the inside line for Andrew Cooper means he does secure 12th position in the end, and manages to pull a couple of car lengths on the exit of the corner for good measure as well. So that was an absolutely cracking move from Andrew Cooper in order to secure 12th position. There's not often you see people going right around the outside of a hairpin, but of course the banking does rather help that matter. Another half a second pulled for Jake Hewlett on that previous lap. Now 2.7 seconds clear of Trafford King, and the Coanda SimSports team member is showing everyone how it's done out there. As we alluded to his Type R Trophy Championship, but of course has multiple esports titles and has participated in some of the most prestigious global esports events. And that's an off for Jensen Swift again. This time that looked like it was coming up Clay Hill, did it not? Well, there's not much further Jensen Swift can fall. And yes, I was the crest at Clay Hill just before Druids. Oh, very nearly went again on the exit of Druids. So, rejoining the battle for 8th position, Rory Mallinson actually slipping a little bit behind Paul Forsyth now. The experience is beating youth for the time being. Into the final 5 minutes of this race. Alex Stockton has just picked up 13th position away from Matt Chip. Rory Mallinson in 9th position, still some 3 seconds ahead of Mark Crawford. Another Northern Irish racer. In a Northern Ireland sandwich at the moment is Rory Mallinson. Crawford, the former supercart racer and motorcycle racer, has raced in road sports and F1000 and the Mazda 7s. Callum Neve looks to be closing up on Ash Hill for 5th position. Seemed to take quite a chunk out of Hill in that previous lap. Callum Neve, a 25-year-old from Stockton-on-Tees, a British Indoor Karting Championship regional finalist, and has just moved into the Pro Kart series in September. This is his first esports league event. His grandfather used to compete against John Brundle, the father of Martin Brundle, in a rally series in Norwich. So Callum does come from a bit of racing heritage. Gap about 3/4 of a second as they make their way back into Knickerbrook, but of course that can ebb and flow quite drastically depending on how brave you can be through corners like Knickerbrook, for example. Out of Druids underneath the Warwick Bridge, and it is still about 7/10 of a second, but Callum Neve closing up a little bit. They've got to be careful for Jackson Carden as well, the pole sitter who picked up 7th from a spinning Paul Forsyth, but has been putting in some very rapid lap times. He had 46.1 on that previous lap and was 0.8 quicker than both the cars in front of him. And with 2 minutes left on the clock, he's still got time to rescue a top 5 finish from this race. But he will be scratching his head and surely thinking about, how can I make sure I get off the line better? How can I make sure I'm not dropping places quite drastically? Because he went from 1st to 4th in a lap in race 1. He went from 1st to 5th in half a lap at the start here in this one. And I'm sure he's not going to thank me for continually mentioning this, but it is just so utterly bizarre. Oh, that was a car off at the entry to the shallow corner. Could have been Jensen Swift there, I think. He is now a lap down. And yes, it was indeed. So Paul Forsyth now puts a lap on the Jensen Swift car. Just over a minute left on the clock, and Ash Hill still hovering around 3/4 of a second ahead of Callum Neve, but arriving on the scene very rapidly is Jackson Carden. So this could be quite a spicy final lap with any mistakes between these three drivers. I imagine Jake Hewlett will be across the line any second to start his final lap of the race. In fact, there he goes, 46.1. Last time around, Trafford King slightly quicker, and Dave Martin matching the pace of the leader, as did Jackson Carden last time around. But this is suddenly looking much, much closer for 5th position, and it was 4/10 taken out of Ash Hill on that previous lap by Callum Neve, and there is barely a car length separating them, with only one tour of Oulton Park left to go. Much wider on the exit of Old Hall for Ash Hill. They are still 1.2 seconds clear of Jackson Carden, so they can afford to scrap a little bit, but not too much. Get slightly wider that time for Callum Neve, that time on the exit of Cascades. And he's really putting Ash Hill under pressure now. Into Island Bend, very much nose to tail, and it almost looked like Callum Neve was running out of space. It's going to be a dive on the inside into the shallow corner and tags the right rear corner of Ash Hill's car, and it's a spin for Callum Neve as a result of that as well. So he shouldn't drop further than 7th position, but of course that's a free pass for Jackson Carden, who is now on the back of Ash Hill and might be able to take 2 positions in 1 lap here as a result of that contact. Ash Hill did do very well to gather the car up after getting that tag on the right rear corner, and Jackson Carden looking one way, looking the other. A move on the inside of Knickerbrook would be very brave indeed, but he's going to follow him through. I think he just tagged the rear of Ash Hill's car, and again he had to gather up a little bit of a slide, and Jackson Carden should be able to make it through. Yes, he does. He pulls ahead of Ash Hill, so it's 2 spots made in 1 lap. But meanwhile, Jake Hewlett will make it 5 victories in a row in race number 2 at Oulton Park in the 750 Motor Club VRS Winter Sim Series, powered by Grid Finder. And it is going to be another 2nd place finish for Trafford King and a 2nd podium for Dave Martin after taking his first last time out. Shea Brennan in 4th position, and Jackson Carden from pole position did fall down the order. He managed to recover again, but this time to 5th position, just ahead of Ash Hill. Callum Neve, after that last lap contact, will come home in 7th position, with Paul Forsyth in 8th, Rory Mallinson taking 9th position, and then Mark Crawford completing the top 10. So another very dramatic race that somehow ended up with the same podium order that we had in race number 1, but we got there with a very different method indeed. And so it is 5 victories now for Jake Hewlett, and again further extending his championship lead. You run out of superlatives for Jake Hewlett at this point, and he is now halfway to Trafford King's consecutive win record of 10 that he set last season. It was 12 in total for King. He did 10 in a row, while Jake Hewlett has just done 5. And so one wonders just how much further Jake Hewlett can go. But again, huge question marks over Jackson Carden, who surely is going to be thinking, what do I need to do in order to stay in the lead? He had a decent start in race 1, but the start in race 2 was clearly not as good as Jake Hewlett's, because he was well clear before they even got to Old Hall. And we're still waiting on answers on how on earth we managed to lose 3 positions in the space of 1 lap in race number 1. And he didn't seem to have the pace out there. Towards the end of the race, he was matching race leader Hewlett, as were a few of the cars, but it's still all the damage is being done earlier in the race. And after a pretty superb qualifying effort, the 2 races so far have not gone Jackson Carden's way, but he still has 1 more race from pole position to redeem himself. It is going to be again Jackson Carden and Jake Hewlett on the front row of the grid. So while we wait for race 3 to get underway, let me run you through a little bit more of the news that has been happening. Of course, the Swift Sport Challenge. We know that Shea Brennan is going to be racing there next year. We had the Devante Tyres announcement, but if you're unfamiliar with what the Swift Sport Challenge is going to be, it is a new entry-level formula created by the home of affordable motorsport at the 750 Motor Club. It is going to reduce the cost of competitiveness. So essentially road-going-ish cars with fewer test days, and removing those costly data loggers as well. The team challenge will allow for drivers to share cars as well. There is a foundation program with fully built cars sold with entry fee and registration costs at a discount rate. And there is also a novice supplement for those looking to take their ARDS test and to get a race kit package. And the car we're going to be racing, the Mark 1 Swift 1.6 litre Suzuki Swift Sport. with the Yellow Speed Kit racing suspension from Tekiwa. And in addition to the Devante Tires announcement that we had just last week, we also have Absolute Alignment joining as a technical partner, who are not only getting a dedicated space to supply competitors with equipment, but they're also going to guide you on what you need to do to run your own car in a racing series. So everything that you can think of being considered for novice racers to get racing for the first time without having to break the bank. So head to the 750 Motor Club website, 750mc.co.uk, for more news about the Swift Sports Challenge and indeed the various other series that we have. We alluded to changes in the Sports Specials Championship earlier. We have the newly rebranded Radical Club Challenge for next year, so formerly the Bike Sports Series being rebranded in conjunction with Radical Motorsport. That is now going to introduce the SR1 machine in its own class in the same specification that you'll find it in the Hagerty Radical Cup UK. So that's going to be joining the SR3, the PR6, Club Sport, and the Pro Sport models you currently see in the Bike Sports series. And joining the 750 Motor Club in 2025 will be the Mighty Minis. We've had them as guest series at various events for the last few years, but now fully run by the 750 Motor Club for its landmark 30th year of competition. It's going to be a very new look Mighty Minis for next year as well. And so we are very much looking forward to having them with us full time next year, after having just a few guest appearances over the last few years. And of course, Road Sports getting a slight tweak as well, because the Tekiwa Road Sports Series will graduate to a Motorsport UK approved championship status for 2025. And despite what you might have read on the internet in recent months, it's not going to cost you any more than when it was a series. And so along with the Club Enduro, its sort of sister series with much longer races, there are going to be some slight tweaks to the regulations for the lower class cars to allow for a little bit more of a lower cost build and preparation for those lower class cars. So again, 750mc.co.uk for all the latest news on that one. And a reminder, get your entries in for the Plum Pudding races on Boxing Day, Wednesday the 18th of December at 5 p.m. Those entries close. And if you haven't already got your ticket and your table booked for the awards night on Saturday the 8th of February, then please do so. So we wait for race 3 to get underway, a final 15-minute encounter. Once again, of course, it will be Jackson Carden and Jake Hewlett starting on the front row of the grid. Jake Hewlett has gotten the better of Jackson Carden in the first two encounters. Well, maybe this one last hurrah is the opportunity that Jackson Carden needs in order to usurp Jake Hewlett, who has been unstoppable so far and right now is on his way to winning that Pro Formula steering wheel from the Virtual Racing School, our new partners for the 750 Motor Club VRS Winter Sim Series, powered by Grid Finder. And a reminder as well, the light steering wheels going to the second and third place drivers, and a random draw for 3 annual subscriptions for VRS Competitive Plan and 3 annual subscriptions to the Team VRS Group Coaching as well. That is valued at $120 and $100 respectively each as well. So plenty of opportunities for our drivers to develop those skills and utilize the Virtual Racing School's many tools in order to get faster. Perfect timing as we're now on the grid and ready for the final race of the night. Race 3 at Oulton Park for the Calm All Porsche Trophy. in the 750 Motor Club VRS Winter Sim Series, powered by Grid Finder, gets underway now, and it is a decent start this time from Jackson Carden, who has managed to get ahead of Jake Hewlett. That's absolutely crucial. So from pole position this time, Jackson Carden does lead into Old Hall. Looks like Trafford King will hang on to third position, just ahead of Dave Martin, and it is Jackson Carden who leads, with Jake Hewlett looking on the inside into Cascades. We saw them do it in race one earlier on, and Jake Hewlett very comfortably takes the lead into Cascades, but he has got the pole sitter Jackson Carden right on his back bumper coming down the Lakeside Straight, and it's going to be Carden on the inside for Island Bend. So tit for tat it could be as they rub wheels going through the high-speed left-hander. Fantastic stuff on the opening lap, but the inside line belongs to Hewlett as they head into the Shell Oils hairpin, and it is going to have to be second position consolidated for Jackson Carden, just ahead of Trafford King. He can't afford to start dropping places as he has done in the previous two races. Dave Martin there in fourth position, Shane Brennan in fifth, Paul Forsyth in sixth position, then Ash Hill, Callum Neve, Adam Cooper and Alex Stockton completing the top 10. A very clean start this time, not like we had in race 2 where we had a couple of incidents on the first lap. That was a very good run through Knickerbrook for Jackson Carden. He's drawn alongside on the run up through Clay Hill. He might find himself the inside line. He might not even need it as he pulled half a car length and now a full car length, but one's ride going through Druids, and that allows Jake Hewlett to try and get back up the inside. Trafford King waiting in the wings to see how this one's going to play out as well. Jake Hewlett is back into the lead going into Lodge Corner. Jackson Carden just about hanging on to second place ahead of Trafford King. Had to break very, very deep in order to keep the reigning champion at bay, but it's 0.8 of a second that covers the top four cars as we cross the line for the first time. Jake Hewlett, Jackson Carden, Trafford King and Dave Martin all in a queue fighting for the lead. And this time Jackson Carden doesn't seem to have dropped the pace as he did in previous races, and is still able to hang with Jake Hewlett's pace. So it's only 1/4 of a second that separate them as they head back into Cascades, where the lead changed hands for the first time on the opening lap. Back down the Lakeside Straight, and it is just half a car length between them coming through Island Bend once again. This was the part of the track where Jackson Carden looked a little bit quicker. Oh, wide moment it looked like for Shay Brennan. She just about kept it on the racetrack, but Paul Forsyth better dive on the inside. Had to take a little bit of curb, runs out wide. So loses the place to Brennan, loses the place to Ash Hill as well. 1 up and 2 down for Paul Forsyth. And also under big pressure from Callum Neve as well, but back with the leaders. Jackson Carden looked like he had an excellent run out of the Britain chicane and coming back down the hilltop straight. Oh, and it's still a car length between them though as they go into Knickerbrook. But remember, he was very quick through that right-hander last time around and was able to get the drive up Clay Hill. So let's see if he can do it again. Well, it looked like he closed down the gap a little bit, but of course the gap was slightly bigger to begin with. Meanwhile, they have dropped Trafford King. He's now about a second behind these two. And if anything, Trafford King looks a little bit more preoccupied with Dave Martin than he does the battle in front of him, as Carden just dropped a couple of wheels onto the grass on the exit of Druids. So out of Lodge once again. Dramas for Mark Crawford further back, but the leaders coming back across the timing line. The gap extending a little bit to about 1/3 of a second as Hewlett put in the fastest lap of the race by the looks of it. But you wouldn't be able to tell looking at the gap between them out of Old Hall. Two slightly different lines being used into Cascades, but Jackson Carden is very much keeping Jake Hewlett honest here. Was that a flash of the lights I saw there? Typical racing driver. They are still pulling clear, about a second still, a little bit more than that now over Trafford King. But it's, again, two very different lines into the Shell Oil corner, much narrower line for Jake Hewlett, whereas Carden going for a slightly later apex. And you see when they get to the next braking zone, the gap is just still the same as it ever was. But plenty of curb and plenty of grass being taken. This looks like a good run for Jackson Carden coming down the hilltop straight. I'm sure Jake Hewlett is feeling the pressure there going into Knickerbrook. That looks very, very tight on the brakes going into the right-hander, and I don't think Carden was able to quite utilize his pace through there. But again, very little separating these two cars. And this is the Jackson Carden we've been waiting to see all night long. Again, running just a little bit wider and kicking up some of the dust there on the exit of Druids. But he is haunting, stalking the rear of the championship leader right now. So we tick off another lap, back up Deer Leap and back towards Old Hall. Jake Hewlett continues to lead, but Carden is right on his back bumper. Almost metronomic, these two, in the way they're lapping at the moment. You see Jake Hewlett was able to just pull a little bit through, and that's the first little mistake it looked like there for Jackson Carden. A bit wide. That's cost him a couple of tenths in that one corner alone. He gains a little bit of it back on the Lakeside straight, but it is growing ever so slightly between these two now as Hewlett just looks a little bit more comfortable, and the error's starting to creep in for Jackson Carden there. Oh, Jensen Swift having a very bumpy ride over the curbing and over the grass on the exit of Cascades, and that has allowed Mark Crawford to go through into 13th position. They've also got Mad Chip just in front of them. But Jensen Swift trying to get back around the outside of the Shell Oil corner, not quite able to do so. Back into Britain's. Ben Goodwin here in a bit of a race of his own in 11th position. Rory Mallinson at the back of the field there. What's happened to Rory on that one? Because it's not like him to be out there. Wide goes Mad Chip. Wide goes Mallinson as well. So Mark Crawford through, Jensen Swift through as well. So that's 12th and 13th now for Crawford and Swift respectively. Mad Chip down to 14th after that wide moment on the exit of Knickerbrook, as Jake Hewlett does another fastest lap of the race at 1:45.142, and the gap now 1 second between himself and Jackson Carden. And so as this race has progressed, the pace is starting to run just a little bit thin, as on the inside there of Mark Crawford was Jensen Swift. And not sure if they made contact, but it was Crawford who went out wide, and he ends up losing the place not only to Jensen Swift, but also to Mad Chip and to Rory Mallinson as well. So it is action and drama all the way through the pack. And that was Rory Mallinson having to get on the anchors for a moment for Mad Chip on the exit of Old Hall. And Mark Crawford could well take place back again from Rory Mallinson. Now at half race distance. Battle for 8th position also closing up as well between Callum Neave and Andrew Cooper. You see the gap now that Jake Hewlett has been able to produce 1.2 seconds over Jackson Carden. And despite it being very evenly matched between those two in the earlier stages of the race, Jake Hewlett has just absolutely pulled the pin and has been pulling away in the last few laps and pulling now what is quite a comfortable margin over Jackson Carden, who himself has a pretty comfortable lead over Trafford King as well. So Carden on course for his 3rd podium finish of the season, his 1st of the night. Again, drama for Rory Mallinson and Jensen Swift, as Mallinson tries to get on the inside at Lodge. Back across the timing line. Half a car length separating them as they head back into Old Hall. Much narrower line for Jensen Swift, as Ben Goodwin's just made his way up into 10th position. Potential moment there for Alex Stockton. Yes, it was, because he's had another one at Cascade, so I can only assume there was a moment for him at Old Hall. Side by side, though, for 12th position just behind them, and they're coming up on Stockton at quite a rate of knots going into Island Bend, side by side with Rory Mallinson on the inside. Stockton goes out wide onto the grass, and Mallinson was having his own little moment there, but he kept it on the racetrack. And going into the Shell Oil corner has just about kept it in front of Jensen Swift. And so with the demise of Stockton, that's now Mallinson up into 12th position, and that's an off for Jensen Swift. Cuts the first part of the Britain's chicane and rejoins behind Mark Crawford. Keep it on the island. Oh, just about. Yes, he did. Well done. Oh, look at this now between Ash Hill and Paul Forsyth. And so Paul Forsyth coming under big pressure for 6th position. So they head out onto the straight, and it's Forsyth in front by, well, the width of a Rizzler at the moment, as Ash Hill goes to the outside line for Old Hall, and Forsyth just about manages to hang on to the spot. But it is the Northern Irishman who just about hangs on ahead of Ash Hill. Podium finisher in Anglesey last time out. And absolutely nose to tail heading back down the lakeside straight. Less than 4 minutes left on the clock now into Island Bend. And is it going to be a lunge on the inside of the Shell Oil corner? No, it is not, but he does very much close up under braking. This pair now some 4 seconds behind Shea Brennan. We've had a sort of quite a clearly marked in terms of pace top 5, and it's all been a bit dramatic behind them as well, as we ride on board with Ash Hill. Going down the hilltop straight, we're going to get a first-hand view of what it's like through Knickerbrook, and really closed up on the entry of the corner, did Ash Hill, and maybe had to check up a little bit because it seemed to arrive with quite a bit more speed into the corner than Paul Forsyth. Oh, and that's a little bit too much speed for Forsyth. Oh, what's happened to Dave Martin? Dave Martin's got off the road at Druids and drops down from 4th position. Past him now goes Rory Mallinson. Or Andrew Cooper, sorry, is another one of the pink cars. And so Dave Martin from 4th to 9th with that little error. 2 and a bit minutes left on the clock now, and it's once again side by side with Ash Hill and Paul Forsyth now battling for 5th position with the demise of Dave Martin there, but it is still Forsyth who just about comes out on top. Callum Neve closing in on them as well. Ash Hill alongside once again. Inside line for Denton's, but outside line for Cascades. Might not matter though if he can't keep the car together. Here comes Callum Neve with a clean run down the lakeside straight, and this surely is going to be Callum Neve's 6th position. If he can pull clear going into the Island Bend. Yep, he's a car in front by the time they get to the left-hander, and so that overtaking attempt from Ash Hill ended up turning into losing a spot. He tries to reclaim it on the outside of the Shell Oil corner, still has half a car length there at the apex, but I don't think is quite going to manage to make that stick by the time they get into Britain's. No, he doesn't. So Paul Forsyth doing a cracking job at hanging on to this spot at the moment, and to Callum Neve's advantage now as he's up a spot into 6th position. Ash Hill still trying to pile on the pressure as we'll be heading on to the final lap of the race shortly. And that's Dave Martin back up a spot. So the first of the 2 pink cars there is the recovering Dave Martin. He's just dispatched of Andrew Cooper. And so one of the spots that he lost with that moment at Druids last time around. Battle for 6th continues with Callum Neve now to the outside of Paul Forsyth. A little bit too wide into Lodge Corner. That's an open door for Ash Hill to walk through. And so they will run side by side up Deer Leap and then towards Old Hall, and he'll have a little bit of a slipstream from Forsyth as well. Well, Ash Hill, and on the inside line at Old Hall, he takes the spot away from Callum Neve that he lost last lap around. We're now on to the final lap, and so Ash Hill running out of opportunities to take this spot away from Paul Forsyth, who that time he was the one who ran a little bit wide in the middle of Cascades, but not enough to risk losing the spot down the Lakeside Straight. He's 3 cars separated by absolutely nothing, going around the island bend for the final time. You see, Ashhill was really leaning on the front end there. You can almost see it take the dive forward as he got on the anchors for the Shell Oil banked hairpin into Britain's chicane for the final time, and the run up the hilltop could be the crucial moment for Ashhill. Soaking up the slipstream, and it's going to be a defensive maneuver from Paul Forsyth. Can't get too defensive in there, you'll kill your speed through Knickerbrook, and they're absolutely nose to tail as they run up Clay Hill once again. I imagine it's going to be a last lap dive into Lodge Corner, as Ashhill just had his nose chopped there by Forsyth going into Britain's. But meanwhile, here comes Jake Hewlett once again. It's another clean sweep of victories in the 750 Motor Club VRS Winter Sim Series, powered by Grid Finder. And for 6th position, the battle continues, because Ashhill is practically pushing Paul Forsyth up the road, but it is just going to be Paul Forsyth who hangs on to 5th spot in an incredible battle. So Jackson Carden in 2nd position. He takes his 3rd podium of the season, and Trafford King in 3rd. It's a clean sweep of podium finishes for the reigning champion. Shay Brennan in 4th. Paul Forsyth coming out on top in that battle for 5th, ahead of Ashhill and Callum Neve. Dave Martin losing 4th place, but recovering to 8th. Andrew Cooper in 9th. Ben Goodwin completing the top 10. Rory Mallinson across the line in 11th, ahead of Mark Crawford. Jensen Swift just across the line in 13th. Mad Chip will be the next one across the line in 14th, ahead of Alex Stockton. And then Adam Woodvine, Symbol VR, completing the field. But it is another perfect race and perfect series of races for Jake Hewlett, who has now got 6 victories to his name. Trafford King joining him on the podium in all 3 races with second, and 3rd. It's 5 in total now for the reigning champion. But how on earth is he or anyone going to stop Jake Hewlett with the speed and consistency that he has been showing throughout the year? It has been quite a astonishing run of races for Jake Hewlett, and hopefully we'll be able to hear from Jake in just a little bit. But Jackson Carden eventually bringing home a decent result with his 3rd podium finish of the season, adding on to the 2 he scored in Anglesey in races 2 and 3. So he should be in a pretty good position in the championship now as a result of that, and potentially Trafford King moving into 2nd in the standings. But Jake Hill has done nothing but extend his championship lead all day long. The only blotch on his record for this weekend is the losing pole position at the 11th hour to Jackson Carden. And so let's hear from Jake Hewlett, the unstoppable man of the moment. Jake Hewlett, who just seems to keep winning and winning and winning and winning. Jake, how on earth are you doing this?
With much difficulty. Also, good evening to you all. Hello. Much difficulty. It's not as easy as it may seem, for sure. The guys are keeping me really honest. They're obviously training really, really hard themselves. And last week I realised that, and we have the luxury of having live timing. We can see where some people have been on the server and some people have been practicing and putting in a significant amount of laps, shall we say, and gave me a sort of a kick up the butt, shall we say, and got me on and started turning more and more laps. But yeah, that was really tough, that one.
You had a couple of great battles with Jackson Carden in all of those races, it looked like. How was it from your perspective?
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, like, you really couldn't ask for much more. I mean, the last race I got a really good helping, shall we say, into Knickerbrook. That one wasn't so good, but everything else otherwise was really, really clean, really respectful. Exactly what racing should be, right?
Absolutely. So you've won 6 in a row. Trafford King managed 10 last season. Are you going to be able to beat that record?
Christ, no pressure then, eh? Look, I don't know. There's obviously some really quick drivers within the championship this year. I think it's quite clear to say that it's leveled up as well. So, look, we'll do our best and we'll keep turning laps and fingers crossed we can go for the magic 10.
Well, Jake, congratulations to you. Absolutely unstoppable at the moment. So congratulations on a great day, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Thanks for putting on a great show, guys, and I'll see you there.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Jake Hewlett, the winner of all 3 races once again in the second meeting of the season. That is all from round 2, the Calm All Porsche Trophy round of the 750 Motor Club VRS Winter Sim Series powered by Grid Finder. Join us next week in 7 days' time, where we will be racing the fastest cars that the 750 Motor Club has to offer, the F1000s on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. We'll see you then.